Tibalt's Trickery. 1 red, 1 other for an instant counter target spell. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then they put the exiled cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. Okay, so let's talk about Chaos Warp for spells, y'all. This is a crazy card, and I can't wait to play it in EDH. We're going to talk about Tibalt's Trickery, and we're going to talk about some other color-bent cards that are really good in EDH, so we can kind of see the history of how we ended up at Tibalt's Trickery, and the video starts right now. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I'm Joel. We're going to talk about Tibalt's Trickery in EDH and some of the other color-bent cards that are EDH playable. But first, if you would, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like the video by the end of it. Let's get into this card. Tibalt's Trickery, the newest in a long line of cards that take the color pie, say, nah, I'm good on that, and throw it to the side. This one is a Chaos Warp for spells, and I really think it's got a lot of application. There are EDH decks that run red but don't run blue, and wouldn't mind, disrupting the perfect moment of somebody's combo, the perfect interaction at the exact time they need it, and they don't really care what you might randomly get from the top of your deck because they're interrupting your combo and keeping you from winning. Tibalt's Trickery, I think, is going to see some EDH play. I also think it is casual EDH playable. We already see Chaos Warp in almost every precon that is printed, and Tibalt's Trickery is just like a Chaos Warp to me, except for spells. I've pulled a bunch of other spells that are completely off color from what they actually do, that have either been played and constructed or are EDH playable right now, and obviously we're going to start with Chaos Warp. This card is what Tibalt's Trickery reminds me of. A red and 2 other, shuffle a permanent into the owner's library, reveal the top card of the library. If it's a permanent, put it onto the battlefield. Tibalt's Trickery to me is a little bit better because it is going to always hit a card. Exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell is what it looks for, so you're going to get to cast the card without paying its mana cost regardless, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent, and it's not just the top card of their library. Looking into the past, we've got cards like Recycle, 2 green, 4 others, skip your draw phase. Whenever you play a card, draw a card, and during your discard phase, choose and discard all but 2 cards. This is a really weird enchantment from back in the day, but I do think it completely represents a different piece of the color pie than green. I mean, there is some card draw in green. I guess there's a little bit of everything in green, quite honestly, but this whole skipping your draw phase, discarding cards, you're discarding all but 2, you're playing a card, you're drawing a card, it just mostly feels blue to me. It doesn't really feel green. Here's a white card called Armistice, 1 white, 2 other enchantment. Pay 5, you get to draw a card, and target opponent gains 3 life. Now, who says white doesn't get the good toys? But for real, the return on your mana here is not that great, but if you are playing a mono white deck and you need card draw, I guess this will work in a pinch. I would hate to point to this and be like, white gets good cards, white gets card draw on Armistice. We've got Paralyze, which is a 1 black enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When Paralyze enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player may pay 4 if he or she does untap the creature. So this is just a blue spell that got a black mana symbol on it accidentally, right? Rhymescale Dragon is 2 red, 5 other, 5/5, flying dragon, but because it's snow, I guess it's got a little bit of a color bend in it for that reason. A snow mana and 2, tap target creature and put an ice counter on it. Creatures with ice counters on them don't untap during their controller's untap steps. I think Frost Titan and Inferno Titan have been messing around and accidentally made a dragon baby that's a little bit of both of them. We've got Backfire, which is a blue enchant creature, 1 blue. Backfire deals 1 damage to target creature's controller for each 1 damage dealt to you by that creature. That is not a blue spell. It is a very interesting spell. I would love to cast this card, or really any of the cards in this video, in a game of EDH, and absolutely have people scratching their heads and wondering, what did he bring to the table today? Molten Influence. Look at this. This isn't the first time with Tibalt's Trickery that we've seen counter target spell on a red card. One red, one other for an instant speed, counter target instant or sorcery spell, unless its controller has Molten Influence, deal 4 damage to him or her. So I promise you, every single time you're playing this in EDH, if anybody is getting their instant or sorcery countered, they're just going to take 4 damage instead, because why not? I don't want you to counter my spell, red deck. Haha, cute trick, but for real, just get out of here with that. Thought that card was interesting because Tibalt's Trickery is not the first time we have seen counter a spell on a red card, so I really like that. Darkness is 1 black instant, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. This is from that like time shifted, time spiral kind of card set, and so it makes sense. It wasn't originally in that, but they brought it up from history because it was already sort of a color pie break. This is Fog. This is 1 black mana Fog, but it's called Darkness. Debt of Loyalty. Now here is a card that I actually think you should put in your white EDH decks if you really want to turn some heads at your next EDH game. 2 white, 1 other, instant speed, regenerate target creature, gain control of that creature. What? So for 3 mana, we're just going to be gaining control of target creature? That's pretty good in white. I mean, who says white doesn't get good spells? We've also got cards like Energy Field from Urza's block, 1 blue, 1 other enchantment. Prevent all damage dealt to you from sources you do not control. When a card is put into your graveyard, sacrifice Energy Field. So this is exactly the kind of card that if it were created today, people would lose their collective minds, because white is already looked at as this color that all of the fun stuff from white is just taken and put onto other cards, i.e. Hull Breacher from Commander Legends. But with Energy Field, you've got this protection, you've got this like sphere of protection in blue, so you know that people are going to be caught off guard if you play that. All right, now here's a crazy one that definitely should be a red card. Primal Order, 2 green, 2 other enchantment. During each player's upkeep, Primal Order deals 1 damage to that player for each non-basic land he or she controls. So I guess the designers of this card just saw the word land and was like, that's a green card, make it a green card. Let's move on, I'm ready to get to lunch. Primal Order's an interesting one. We've got Misguided Rage in red, and this just says target player sacrifices a permanent. Not a ton of application in EDH, because you are going to have a ton of permanents on the battlefield, but again, this color bent sorcery that has a sacrifice effect in red, it's such an interesting card to me. Seed Time has some stipulations, but it's still a very color bent card. We've got this 1 green, 1 other instant speed. Play Seed Time only during your turn, and you get to take an extra turn after this one if an opponent played a blue spell this turn. So if you've got a meta where a lot of counter spells are running around and you know that one person is running a counter spell deck, just casually put Seed Time into your deck, because then when they counter your spell, you get to go Seed Time, and then you take an extra turn and everybody's a little annoyed with you because you yelled Seed Time at the table. Witch Hunter is a 2 white, 2 other human cleric 1/1. You tap it to deal 1 damage to target player. And who said white doesn't get fun toys? 3 mana, tap it, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. So with Witch Hunter, they were like, we want this to be a white creature, we want it to have a red ability. And some people are like, well, that was a blue ability back in the day. And they're like, no, it's going to be red in the future. Also, 3 mana to do a blue ability. This card is probably 3 different colors, and really none of it is white at all. So I'm not really sure what happened with Witch Hunter to give us the creature we ended up with. Withering Boon is a card that I play in my mono black EDH deck, and I gotta tell you, I love the looks I get every single time somebody goes to play their commander and I say, in response, tap 2, and they're like, funny joke. And I'm like, funny thing is, Withering Boon. I pay 3 life, counter target creature spell. Got him. Takes them off guard every time. I would highly recommend picking up a copy of this for any of your decks that you don't have access to counter spells, like a mono black, maybe Rakdos, something like that. that you could use this as a beautiful, beautiful trick to really catch somebody off guard. Back to Urza's block, we got 1 blue, 2 other enchantment. Each player can't play more than 1 spell each turn. This is an effect that's white now, but it was blue back in the day, so if you need some redundancy on this effect, Arcane Laboratory has got you covered. Tibalt's Trickery is a very cool card. I am very excited to have another tool for EDH where we can counter spells in colors that might not have access to that, even with the downside that this comes with being a sort of Chaos Warp that's guaranteeing they find a non-land card to cast. That's what I've got to say about Tibalt's Trickery and breaking the color pie. Let's close the book. Thank you so much for watching, really appreciate it. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down there, it really helps us out. Other than that, I'll catch you later. I'm tapped out.